So we are here at the Comic Bug with Charles Soule from Brooklyn, New York.
Hello!
Writer of Death of Wolverine, Letter 44, 27
other books. Is it true? There's
there's
a whole
Swamp
bunch of
Thing,
them.
Superman, Wonder Woman, lots of really good stuff.
We'll get to that. Yeah.
Cool.
Uh-huh.
And just real quick, I want to introduce my friend Jeff Stokely, who illustrated this commemorative glass that we gave out to everybody who came out tonight.
Beautiful.
Thank you guys for coming out tonight.
Yeah.
This is fantastic. Tell us a little bit about this piece before we send you on your way.
It was originally commissioned. Well, it wasn't commissioned. It was an auction piece for the to support aid for the tsunami in Japan that happened a few years back. But you guys asked me to do it. And
I saw it. It looked great. I was like, that's kind of the perfect piece, and I knew him, so that made it easier.
Free.
Yeah, and it was free. It was a giveaway, but if you are drinking out of this one day and you want to support Japan, they probably still need help.
Maybe.
So think about that, right?
It's
like the new Ice Bucket Challenge.
Comics.
When that story was like 20% of the way through, I thought you were saying that you did that image to support AIDS.
The tsunami.
And I was like, don't support AIDS. But then quickly it turned, and we're all good now. Because, yes.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
it's
he's a good guy.
It's a beautiful,
not always the
beautiful
best
piece of
direction.
work.
No, I don't like AIDS that much.
All right.
But no, Jeff he's awesome. He has a graphic novel called A Reason for Dragons. Check it out. And we're going to send you out to the bar so you can do what you were born to do, dude.
Awesome.
Party and all right, thanks, dude.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Nice meeting you.
Absolutely, man. Take care. Mm-hmm.
So we're promising the people 10 hard-hitting questions. I have a few, and then I'm going to call people in the crowd. And we have not screened these questions. Are you okay with that? Because you're a lawyer. I want to make sure you're okay with going up to what we're about to go into.
I'll just sue people. I'll just sue them. It's not a big deal.
So I have a question. Why are you killing Wolverine?
Because they asked me to, is the basic answer. Honestly, when they come to you with a project like that's one of these great, either a beginning, something like Superman, Wonder Woman, or an end, which is Death of Wolverine. A story point that doesn't happen every day. It's not just the regular thing. I think you jump on that, right?
Yeah.
And for me, Wolverine. Wolverine's unkillable, right?
Supposedly, yeah.
So killing Wolverine is something I knew people would want to read and be interested in, and then they told me Stephen Kniven was on it, and I was double super plus in when I heard that. So it's a great story. I'm thrilled to be on it. I saw the last couple pages last week. They're unbelievable. I'm thrilled. The response has been. You
It's
run a
been
shop,
phenomenal.
right? It's
No,
unreal.
it's been
You move me some
crazy.
paper. So
Yeah.
I'm thrilled with it. It's I'm very proud of it as a story. So that's why I'm killing Wolverine, and I guess he deserves it.
Well, he's been around a lot, and we'll definitely miss him a little. I mean, we have lots of Wolverine stories we can read until they bring him back to life, enough to keep us going. Does that make sense?
No, he's gonna die.
Right, but he's gonna come back to life.
No,
right?
he's going to
You're
die.
killing him for good.
What's the title of the book?
Dude, did you read Len Wein's interview in the back?
Len is a great guy.
I will say, whenever every major character you think of has died once. Daredevil, everybody's died, and someday somebody's gonna bring him back to life. It might be Hugh Jackman, but the journey is fantastic. It's oh yeah, Death of Wolverine, he's gonna die, but oh my god, this is a fucking Rambo comic.
It's funny that you say that. My version of that was a fucking Clint Eastwood comic.
Okay.
I was thinking some of those great Clint Eastwood movies from back in the day. Your High Plains Drifter, Pale Rider, Fistful of Dollars. You have a guy who's going off, and it's not going to end well. That third reel or that last reel of the movie is going to be just mayhem. And I wanted to tell that kind of story. If there's ever a story or ever a character who's going to go out that way, it's going to be Wolverine. So that's what you're getting. We're halfway through it now. Next issue's out. I don't know when this is going to air.
October 1st it'll be out.
Yeah.
Whenever this airs, and then the last one's October 15th.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, within a couple weeks, you'll all know how it all ends. And I tried to write the hell out of it. Steve McNiven certainly drew the hell out of it. Jay Leiston, Justin Ponzer colored and inked it amazingly well. We all really wanted to make something cool, and these stories do come around. These death of stories do come around, but we thought this one why not make this one kick ass? And so we did.
It
You'll
does.
see.
It's
You'll
really
see.
good. Yeah. Question? Any questions out there?
Not a single
Hard-hitting questions. Come on. Don't be afraid to ask. Derek.
Did you get to pick the title?
Death of Wolverine?
Blunt.
No, I didn't. But that is a good question though, because it means there's no surprises, right? Like Death of Wolverine, it's not like it's
Here's how it
called,
ends.
Wolverine: The Last Stand, which probably would be a weird title considering it's 3, but calling it Death of Wolverine means that I've got something I got to pay off, right? We all know how it's going to end, so it really is just about that journey, and whether he dies in issue 3 or issue 4. Because he's not dead in issue 2, so presumably it's one of those other 2. You really want to make sure that it lives up to him as a character. Doesn't seem shitty. I mean, how many times have we seen this story and it hasn't been cool, right? So I just want to make sure that he just comes off as badass as he is, because I think I'm talking too much, but if in our head we all have this like idealized Wolverine, right? There's this guy who's like super amazing, and you look. The movies have been turned off, but there were movies on before, and each one of those movies has these like amazing Wolverine moments in it, right? And you want, and the books all have these amazing moments in it, and you want ideally Death of Wolverine to only be that guy all the way through. And so I was like, I'm gonna try and write that all the way through, no missteps, no half measures. He's gonna be that perfect Wolverine the whole way through till the very end.
Oh, cool.
And whether I pulled it off or not, I guess I'll hear about on Twitter in a couple weeks. So.
Are you very involved in the fallout of that? Because like whenever somebody dies, there's about 8 or 9 miniseries. Like, okay, what are we gonna do now? Wolverine's dead. How involved are you in that?
I'm very involved. I'm at the moment until they fire me. I'm the Wolverine guy at Marvel, which is a kind of a cool job, except for the fact that Wolverine's going to be dead. So it's not quite what that job was 6 months ago. But there's a lot of planning revolving around the idea that the Marvel Universe doesn't have a Wolverine in it anymore. And there's a lot of characters that are affected by his death. And so, like, there's a power vacuum. There's the idea that villains might step up because they can get away with things they wouldn't have been able to get away with before. There are 2 miniseries coming out over the fall that pick up pretty directly after the end of Death of Wolverine. One's called The Logan Legacy. The other's called The Weapon X Project. I'm writing sort of the bookends for the Logan Legacy one. That's kind of a retrospective series almost that looks at how some of the like Sabretooth and Deathstrike and X-23, how they react to his death. And then Weapon X Project is tied in closely to the end of the series. It's basically, it picks up about 2 seconds after the end of Death of Wolverine 4 and follows a group of kind of experimental lab rat types who are all given powers, but they're not like, it's not like Captain America or anybody who comes out and they're like everything's awesome. It's more like how are we going to survive this terrible thing that they did to us? And so it's kind of like, did I already say Runaways Miss Frankenstein?
I was thinking about the Lego movie. I'm sorry, because you said everything is awesome.
Yeah, everything is awesome. So anyway, it's a great series. They're both good. You should check them out. And then there's a whole other big, huge thing that's coming out after those. So there's a lot coming out.
Can you say what that is?
I can't yet.
Okay, but it's going to be big.
It's going to be super big.
Yeah.
It'll be announced at New York Comic Con, which is like 10 days from now. So that guy's very anxiously awaiting.
What's Hugh Jackman like, and why does he hate you?
I've never met Hugh Jackman. Never. I don't know. Is he saying bad things about me online?
Maybe.
Yeah. We're starting. I guess it's starting now.
Wow. Did he really?
Yeah. Hugh Jackman knows this guy. He hangs out with that guy all the time.
Give me 1 second.
Oh, you got a quote?
Yeah.
Have you heard this?
No, I don't think Hugh Jackman. I mean, honestly.
Are you gonna call him?
Yeah.
Okay. Good question, Chris. Over here. Yes.
How do you approach writing and planning stories, particularly since you've got this other job?
Sure.
How do you balance all that and do it?
I have. So it's basically how do I balance my workload is what you're asking. So I'm on right now. Honestly, I don't know how many I'm on right now. It's a lot. I'm on many titles. Last time I checked, it was like 8, but I don't. It's somewhere around. It's either 7 or 9 or 8, somewhere in there. Monthly titles. Plus, my other job is I'm an attorney. I have my own law practice and I run it, and I have been for a long time. So it's really, it's my own business, and the writing stuff. I mean, wouldn't any of you guys like to be able to writing all this stuff? Right? You would, right? It's awesome. So you make the time, you make it work. I mean, this morning I was up at 6. I was writing until I went to the signing that I had earlier today. Sorry, I had another shop in San Diego.
That's okay. That's okay. It's
I
far
wasn't
away.
betraying you. It's far away.
No, I'm starting to think about something, but we'll get to that. Go ahead.
All right. And then I did the signing, and I drove up here. And on the way up here, I was thinking about what I was going to do for something for Inhuman. And then when I got to the hotel, I checked in, and I went downstairs, and I started typing for a while. And then I came here. So like virtually every moment of every day is spent on getting all this stuff out. But it's, again, you would all do the same thing if you had the opportunity. It's amazing. So it's not a problem. I love doing it. I'm thrilled at the chance that I have. I'm lucky. So.
Are you a full-time attorney, or is it something you just do sometimes?
It's my own practice, so I'm able to manage my time as I choose to. It's hard to say. It's not. You can't. I mean, I'm not in the office 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
And I do have some people who help me. Like I've got staff, but I do it a lot.
If I didn't love Mark Waid's Daredevil run so much, I would say you were probably born to write Daredevil, right?
Well, I'm writing She-Hulk, which is
true.
She-Hulk's an attorney, and I'm thrilled at the response of that series. People have really been enjoying it, and it's kind of a She-Hulk is not always been somebody who's been able to sustain a long-running series, but the response to this one's been great. Basically she does what I did. She goes out and opens a shop in Brooklyn, or opens a little law practice in Brooklyn, and then she has all kinds of weird superhero clients. And right now she's in the middle of a she has been hired by Captain America to defend him in a wrongful death suit, and Daredevil is the lawyer on the other side. So it's this big fun thing. But the one neat little bit of trivia is that Jen's office building, the building that she has her office in Brooklyn, is my office building. My office is that same one. So if you were to go look very closely at She-Hulk and figure it out, you could do that. Or you could just
do that. You
I
shouldn't
know.
tell people that when you're writing a book called Death of Wolverine.
Yeah,
it's bad.
probably,
As your attorney,
Yeah.
I advise. I'm like a fear and loathing kind of attorney.
Okay, I gotcha.
Any other questions out there? We got like 3 more. Dave, you got. Joel.
When you're approached to do titles, what do you look for in terms of this is a title I want to work on, or this is a story?
The first thing I look for is whether or not I have a take on it. Okay, so if I can actually write something that's going to be cool, right? If I feel like it's not going to be just a grind where I've got to try and figure out what the story is going to be every issue. So that's one thing. The second thing I tend to look for is it like anything else I already do? Because I write a number of books, I don't want to write, say, I don't know, like right now I probably wouldn't take Death of Sabretooth, for example, because that would be very similar to Death of Wolverine, right? And so if you look at the slate that I have and the books that I've had at any given point of time, they're all pretty wide. And the reason is that, none of you guys knew or very few of you knew who I was 2 years ago, would be my guess, okay? But in the intervening 2 years, the books that I've chosen have reached, you might read Red Lanterns, and you might read Death of Wolverine, and you might read She-Hulk, and those are different audiences. But now you all know my name, and hopefully you'll all read my books going forward. So it was kind of that was the idea, and now that I'm working with Marvel going forward, the idea is to maybe focus and drill down a little bit and work on books that are I can kind of get a little deeper on. So we'll see how it goes, but that's the idea.
I was a big fan of 27. That
thank
was
you.
how I found you, and because I was a big Nirvana fan.
Sure.
Here's a guy writing it. I didn't know any of the other stuff, and then
Uh-huh.
I read that and I liked it, and then I didn't pay attention for a while, but
Uh-huh.
I picked up Swamp Thing because I
Yeah.
have to tell you about my journey, but it's like, oh my God, it's the guy that wrote, Ben pointed it out. That's the guy that wrote 27.
Uh-huh.
Wow, so dude, I've been a fan for a long time. I didn't
Well,
even
thank
know
you.
it.
27 is actually the book that got me Swamp Thing.
Oh, really?
There was a DC exec who had found it, and he came to me and he said it was at San Diego Comic-Con actually years ago, and he said, why don't you write for DC? I'm like, well, because you can't just write for DC. You have to be asked to write for DC. He's like, well, okay, what I'm going to do is try and introduce you to some editors and see what we can make happen. And nothing happened until New York, which was 4 months later. And then he introduced me to a guy named Matt Idelson, who's the Swamp Thing editor, who had me pitch on it. And that was nerve-wracking because Scott Snyder was writing that book at the time. So I was going to follow up Scott Snyder, who is, everybody's
Titanic, yeah.
everybody's favorite writer, right? So, but my sense was, this was, I didn't even think of it that way. I was like, this is my shot, so I'm gonna swing for the fences. I'd always loved Swamp Thing, and why not? Who's gonna? I'd be an idiot to turn that down.
There's no such thing as a bad Swamp Thing writer. It's like Brian K. Vaughan,
Well, I mean, the list
Nancy
is
Collins,
unbelievable.
yeah, Alan Moore.
Alan Moore, Josh Dysart,
yeah.
Grant Morrison, Mark Miller. I'm skipping a whole bunch that are
it's a great list.
It's a Titanic.
Now you're
Grant
among
Morrison.
them,
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. So yeah, it was, and that was something I thought about. But it was also kind of like, if you're gonna, I mean, what was my choice, right? I could say Alan Moore and Brian K. Vaughan and Mark Miller wrote it and Grant Morrison, so I'm gonna say no.
No,
That's
you're in
silly.
those halls now, is what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah, but when I was offered the gig,
Yeah.
my choice was I say I'm not good enough to do this,
Mhm.
or I say, well, I don't know if I'm good enough to do this, but at least I'll give it a shot. and I chose the second thing, and here we are.
Amen, dude.
So.
And letter 44. Let's talk about letter 44. And,
Sure.
How many of you guys have heard of letter 44 or
Hopefully.
read it or?
Oh, that's.
And how many haven't? Because that's the takeaway tonight. Letter 44 is Charles's latest creator-owned book, I think, right?
Sure.
And it's a great idea. And
do you want to hear the? All right, so I'll give you guys the elevator pitch for letter 44.
And we have a bunch of copies over there, so you check it out. Death of Wolverine's awesome. Letter 44 is the future. Go ahead.
So you have a U.S. president, right? He gets elected. He comes in office. He gets that letter on his desk from the previous president. That secret letter that only president gets to read. And it says, "Hey man, good luck. Being president's a huge pain in the ass, and it's going to be particularly hard for you because we found aliens in the asteroid belt 7 years ago and didn't tell anybody about it. So surprise. That's your problem now. Good luck. P.S. We sent up a mission to the asteroid belt to see what's there. They're not there yet, but they're getting close. You got to try and take care of them. They're all heroes." So the story has 2 tracks. The one is the president down on Earth trying to deal with all this, trying to figure it out, trying to help. The other is the astronauts up in space and increasingly falling apart rickety spaceship because it was all sort of thrown together way too fast. Getting close to finding out the truth, seeing what's actually up there. So it reads kind of like West Wing meets Alien or House of Cards meets Battlestar Galactica, and it's a hell of a read. So first trade is available right there. It was picked up for a TV show by Sci-Fi. Issue 10 just came out on Wednesday. It's awesome. It's ongoing. I'm super proud of it. It's like my real kind of not distilled at all. If you want the pure, real deal Charles Soule writing that's in there, and I'm super proud of it.
Yeah. And you should be. It's great. It's a great book.
Thank you.
Any last questions before we go? Yes.
All right. You say you're writing all these books right now. You've had so many great characters that you've had your hands on. But if any company came to you and said, Charles Soule, take one of our characters, whether it's well known or not, and run with it, which character would it be? And possibly, if you have in mind, what artist would you like to work with?
This is always a tricky one. Well, first of all, I've been like blessed with the artists. I've been unbelievable. I mean, Steve McNiven, it's unreal the guys that I've been lucky enough to work with. But it would be cool. I'd love to do. I think Chris Samney is a stunningly talented artist. He really fits my aesthetic on certain books. I'll give you one for Marvel, one for DC. All right. I have a great Captain America story I'd love to tell at some point. We'll see what happens, but I'd love to do that. And then for DC, this is gonna sound weird, but you know who Hourman is?
Yes.
I like Hourman, and I have a very cool Hourman story which I would love to tell at some point. So it's I'd also love to do Batman and all the obvious ones, but I have a weird, cool Hourman story that I think would be neat. And if they really said do anything you want, I would probably write that Hourman story. So
it's like a one issue thing or a multi.
I like a 6-issue thing.
Okay, cool.
So yeah.
Listen up, DC.
Awesome,
Yeah.
guys.
Anyway.
Charles, what's you got coming up, indie or otherwise?
Well, indie stuff right now. The focus is letter 44. I have a bunch of creator-owned things that I'm working on, but it's as mentioned, I've got a lot going on. It's kind of busy. There are some, I signed an exclusive contract with Marvel not long ago. So
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. So the work I have coming up is all Marvel stuff, but I'll tell you that there's something big being announced in New York, and then like the horizon of things is pretty spectacular. I'm very excited about all the stuff I have coming up. So over the next year or 2 years, there's a lot of cool things with my name on them, which will be fun.
Cool, man. Awesome, dude. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you guys
Yep.
for coming. This
Thanks
was
very
an
much.
amazing night. It was really cool. It's like a nice little after party thing. And if anybody has any more books to sign, he's
Yeah,
gonna be
more
here
than
for a little
happy.
bit longer.
Absolutely.
And thanks, guys.